If you are raising a female Shih Tzu, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, do you truly understand how that little girl's brain and body are operating? I have raised Shih Tzus long enough to say something many people only realize after years. Female dogs are not simply gentler or more affectionate. Their biological structure is different, and that difference creates layers of depth that, if you are not paying close attention, you will miss. I have seen female Shih Tzus detect that their owner was about to experience a drop in blood sugar before a monitoring device even sounded. Not because of magic, because their sense of smell processes hormonal changes with extraordinary precision. Estrogen influences how the brain analyzes scent. For a female Shih Tzu, a smell is not just a smell, it is biological data, and they read that data every single day while living beside you. There is something I have observed clearly across multiple generations of female Shih Tzus. They tolerate physical discomfort better than you might think. Yet, they are extremely sensitive to emotional tension. If you change your daily rhythm, if you become unpredictable, if your silence feels different than usual, they notice quickly, not with their ears, with their nervous system. I once raised 2 Shih Tzus in the same household, one male and one female. When I trained them to wait for a command before eating, the female was more patient, not because she was better behaved, but because lower testosterone levels support stronger impulse control. That biological difference makes many female Shih Tzus particularly suited for therapeutic environments where emotional steadiness matters. Have you ever noticed that female Shih Tzus often hold eye contact longer? That gaze is not just cute. When 2 bodies maintain eye contact long enough, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, increases in both. Research shows that this response can be stronger in female dogs. That means every time you return that gaze calmly, you are strengthening the bond at a hormonal level. I also want you to understand this. Reproductive cycles are not only about behavior. A female dog's brain shifts with hormonal phases. There are periods when they become more sensitive, more restless, even showing signs similar to false pregnancy due to progesterone changes. If you do not know this, you may think her personality changed. In reality, it is biology. When it comes to memory, female Shih Tzus often retain emotional experiences for a very long time. I have witnessed a female recognize someone who once cared for her after years of separation. Not by scent alone, by memories encoded deeply within the hippocampus. When you are inconsistent, they remember. When you create stability, they remember that too. There is something many people who raise female Shih Tzus feel, but cannot easily describe. They read your voice with remarkable accuracy. Not the words, the tone and rhythm. When you lower your energy, they lower theirs. When you are tense, they heighten alertness. They do not merely live beside you, they synchronize with you. And here is something important. Female Shih Tzus often live longer. Their immune systems benefit from having 2 X chromosomes. But that does not mean you can become careless. That small body still needs stability, appropriate nutrition, and a predictable rhythm to maintain that biological advantage. If you are raising a female Shih Tzu, try looking again at behaviors you once labeled as personality. It may be hormonal response. It may be a bonding mechanism. It may be emotional adjustment in sync with you. I want you to leave a comment. What does your female Shih Tzu do that makes you feel she understands you more deeply than you expected? Be specific. Real stories help us understand this breed far more than any chart or study. And if you want to keep exploring the biology behind that gentle gaze, subscribe to the channel. Here, we do not only talk about care, we talk about how a small body adjusts hormones, brain function, and nervous system responses simply by living beside you every day. Because when you understand the biology behind a female Shih Tzu's affection, you stop raising her on instinct alone. You raise her with awareness. And that is how you build a lasting bond, not just on cuteness, but on real understanding. There is one more thing that many people who raise female Shih Tzus quietly wonder about but rarely hear explained clearly. Why does she hold on to emotional experiences so strongly? Let me be honest with you. A female Shih Tzu does not just remember events. She remembers the emotional state attached to the event. If you once raised your voice when she made a mistake, she may respond cautiously in a similar situation days later, not because she is stubborn or overly sensitive, but because her brain encoded that experience at an emotional level. On the other hand, if you stayed calm, patient, and paused when you noticed her confusion, the next time she faces the same situation, she will be far more confident. Many people who raise female Shih Tzus tell me, "She is so intuitive. The moment my mood shifts, she changes." That has a real biological basis. A female dog's nervous system reacts strongly to human stress hormones. When you are tense, your body scent changes, your breathing pattern shifts, and very often, the female Shih Tzu is the first one in the house to adjust. She may become quieter, or she may move closer to you. That is not random. That is nervous system synchronization. I also want to address something practical that worries many owners. Mood changes linked to cycles. There are days when she is more attached, days when she prefers space, days when she is more sensitive to noise than usual. This is not unpredictability. It is hormones. And when you understand that, you stop overreacting. You soften the rhythm of the day. You avoid forcing interaction. You stop judging today's behavior by yesterday's standards. When it comes to training, female Shih Tzus often respond best to stability, repetition, and gentle clarity. They do not need intense stimulation. What they need is consistency. When your commands, tone, and boundaries stay predictable, they learn quickly. And once they understand, they remember for a very long time. That is why many people say female Shih Tzus never forget, whether it is something good or something negative. There is another point many owners overlook. Female Shih Tzus are extremely good at reading the atmosphere of a home. If there is conflict in the family, if tension lingers in the air, they are often the first to show changes. Maybe they eat less. Maybe their sleep becomes lighter. Maybe they become more alert. Many people interpret this as an isolated health issue, when the root cause may be emotional environment. And I want you to hear this clearly. Not every female Shih Tzu is the same. Some are more independent. Some are deeply attached. Some prefer to observe from a distance. Some prefer physical closeness. Do not compare your girl to another dog. Observe her unique attachment style. When you respect her individual way of bonding, she will open up more deeply. One question many female Shih Tzu owners truly want answered is this: does she really see me as her center? The answer lies in her choices when there are multiple stimuli around her. When guests arrive, does she glance back at you before approaching them? When she hears an unfamiliar sound, does she search for your eyes? When you leave the room, does she check once before returning to her own activity? Those choices reflect biological attachment at a deep level. And I will say this directly. If your female Shih Tzu can sleep deeply when you are home, can turn her back to you while lying nearby, can walk away without panic, and return without hesitation, then you have built something solid. That is not indifference. That is trust. If these reflections make you see your female Shih Tzu differently, leave a comment describing one specific behavior that makes you feel she understands you. Do not write something general. Share details. Real experiences teach this community far more than abstract advice ever could. And if you want to continue exploring hormones, brain function, and the biological layers of how female Shih Tzus bond, subscribe to the channel. Not to increase numbers, but so you do not miss the small yet critical signals this breed shows every single day. Because when you understand a female Shih Tzu, not just through surface behavior, but through the biology behind it, you raise her with more confidence, less confusion, and far deeper connection. And that is what truly dedicated owners are searching for. Before closing this video, I want you to keep just one thing in mind. Not to argue about who is right or wrong, but to look at your relationship with your female Shih Tzu more clearly. Understanding is always stronger than rumor. Many owners begin with vague feelings. One person says this. Another article says something different. A dramatic story online makes you wonder, is my girl like that too? But the truth is, every female Shih Tzu is an individual living body, with her own nervous system, her own hormones, and her own way of responding. When you look at things through a biological lens instead of momentary emotion, confusion decreases significantly. We have talked about hormones, about cycles, about emotional sensitivity, about how a female Shih Tzu adjusts to her environment and to the people around her. The most important thing is not that you memorize every detail. The important thing is that you begin observing consciously. You stop labeling small changes as difficult, moody, or stubborn. Instead, you ask, is there a biological factor behind this? Is there an environmental change I have not noticed? Real trust between you and your female Shih Tzu is not built by controlling everything. It is built through stability and your ability to read early signals. When you understand that a slight shift in energy, sleep, or reaction to sound may relate to hormones or emotional states, you do not overreact. You make small adjustments, and those small adjustments are the foundation of long-term connection. Remember this. A female Shih Tzu does not need a perfect owner. She needs a consistent one. Someone who does not panic because she eats a little less one day. Someone who does not become anxious because she seems quieter for a week, but also someone who does not ignore repeated changes. The balance between calmness and attention, that is the real skill. If you have ever worried that you are not doing enough, look at her baseline state. Does she sleep deeply? Does she relax when lying beside you? Does she seek you when she feels uncertain? Does she maintain softness in her body and eyes? Those answers are more reliable than any online comment. What I want you to feel after this video is not fear. It is grounded confidence. When you understand why a female Shih Tzu responds the way she does, you are no longer guessing blindly. You know what you are observing. You know when to intervene and when to simply be patient. Raising a female Shih Tzu means accepting a sensitive, intelligent being with a hormonal system more complex than many people realize. But that complexity is what creates depth in the relationship. When you synchronize with her biological rhythm, stability appears over time. Less drama, fewer misunderstandings, more trust. If you have watched until this point, it means you do not just want a well-behaved dog. You want understanding. And when the goal becomes understanding rather than control, everything becomes lighter. Continue observing calmly. Continue asking questions when patterns repeat. Continue building a stable environment where her nervous system can relax. That is how you protect her health without becoming extreme. And if these reflections help you see your female Shih Tzu more clearly, stay with the channel, not for numbers, but because understanding needs reinforcement, especially with a breed this sensitive. In the end, what truly makes the difference is not that you love more than others. It is that you understand more accurately. And when love is paired with understanding, your female Shih Tzu does not just live healthier. She lives in an environment her body and nervous system can trust every single day. That is the most sustainable foundation of all.